Today on the Transplant Helper, I want to focus your attention for just a moment on the following statement.
My story, like any transplant survivor, goes on, and I think that's the biggest point of it all. The gift of organ donation means that life can go on.
And remind you just how true that is. Yes, life goes on. Go ahead and stay tuned. Hey folks, welcome to Transplant Helper again today. My name is Jim Merle, and whether or not you're a day, a week, a year out of transplant, it is absolutely true, hopefully and prayerfully, that for you, life goes on. And I really appreciate that little clip I showed you just a moment ago, which by the way will be coming out this Friday on this Friday's edition of Friday's Fighter with Brad Martin. I really appreciated that little statement he made there in the middle of that 13 minutes or so we covered, telling the story of his life and trying to motivate us. He made that simple statement, life goes on. And believe it or not, that kind of blew my mind at the time. I never considered what an opportunity, what a chance, what an ability we've been given because of transplant to have life going on. And the key word there is going on, continuing to move forward as a result of transplant. What a blessing that is. And so with that said, it kind of got my wheels to turning a little bit in this little mind and got me to thinking about some of the things we need to be keeping in mind as life goes on. You know as well as I do, you're going to have good days and bad. You're going to have ups and downs, times when you feel like going, times when you don't. And so that's when these kind of reminders in the back of our minds, maybe even set up on sticky notes, posted around the house, maybe on a mirror, on the refrigerator, are really going to make an impact on our lives. And so I want to give you these three things very simply stated. And by the way, I don't plan to blow your mind with these. These will be just that simple. But here we go. Number one, post-transplant, you're going to have to push yourself, okay? You're going to have friends, you're going to have family members, you're going to have doctors, coordinators, rehab teams, everybody rallying around you and driving and lifting you up after transplant, maybe for the first few days, months, or even up to a year. And that is so wonderful to have. You know, when you got somebody right there beside you, giving that constant shot in the arm, that little nudge in the back, and reminding you to keep on keeping on. There's a good friend of mine used to sign notes and say KOKO, keep on keeping on. It's great to have those people, but you know as well as I do that after we're out of transplant for a little bit longer than that, it doesn't take very long and those people kind of start to fall to the wayside. It's not they don't care, it's not that they don't love us, they just kind of lose sight of how important and how continual our recovery process is, and so maybe they're not aware that we're going to need those motivations for the long term or the long haul. Now, with that being said, if those people start to fall back a little bit and start to back away from driving you, who do you think is going to drive you more than anyone? That's right. It's going to be you. You yourself, you sir, you ma'am, you're going to have to drive yourself. So the word push has to be a constant place in our minds. You know, I talk about a lot of times about goal setting, and I've said this many times before. When you're setting your goals, especially post-transplant goals, don't try to set those goals or those bars so high that they're going to be nearly impossible to grasp at or to dive at. Set them just a little bit higher incrementally than they were the day before and the day before, and then that way when you can be able to reach those goals, you'll be excited, you'll be pleased, you'll be proud in yourself, have that warm fuzzy feeling, and you'll make another accomplishment and be more motivated to go out and do it again the next day. So number one in your minds, keep the word push at hand. Number two, keep the word right behind that of pace. And the reason I say that, you know as well as I do, maybe you've already accomplished this or learned this. If not, I'm telling you now, you've got to be careful to pace yourselves. Even though you might have set incremental goals, keep in mind there are going to be days when you just don't feel quite up to par, when you just don't quite make it to where you want to get. And if you're not willing to pace yourself, it's going to get worse, okay? I've even had a week right now in the moment. I'm still in it, as a matter of fact. I've had about a week or so where I overdid it a week and a half or so ago, and I've been paying the price ever since. It's like I just can't quite catch up on my rest. I can't get back up on my sleep. I can't get enough hydration in. I can't get enough good healthy foods in my body. I'm just kind of losing ground here lately, and I know why it is. I overdid it. I tried to accomplish too much. So you got to pace yourself, okay? This is not one of those quick, short races where just a burst of speed or energy is going to make it. It's more like a marathon. It's more like the old tale of the turtle and the hare, and how the turtle won the race. Why? Because he took it slow and steady. Slow and steady wins the race. Pacing yourself will ultimately win the race of transplant or post-transplant life. So keep in mind to push yourself, but to pace yourself, and then to persist with yourself, okay? You got to be persistent. Just because those bad days or those lower energy days come, don't decide that, well, that's as far as I can go. Don't decide that that is the pinnacle I need to get to, and who cares, I give up. Now, does that ever come into my mind? Yes. I mean, I've already admitted before, I'm dealing with some bouts of depression, anxiety, PTSD came back out the first part of this week. Maybe if you watch that program, you understand that. If not, I'll link it up to here. You know, there's certainly a lot of things out there kind of in the back of our minds, whispering in our ears and saying, just give up, just stop, just don't, you can't go any farther. But you gotta be persistent, okay? It's going to take every day, as I said, of keeping on, of living the life in order to continue with this life. You're not going to be able to give up. There's nothing about this. For all you have been through, for all I've been through in the whole transplant process, whether it be the evaluation, the wait time, the surgery itself, the first weeks after recovery, it's not the time for giving up now. Whether, again, you're a day, a week, a month, a year, 10 years, 20 years out, don't give up now. Just keep being persistent. I promise you, at the end of that, every breath, every day that you're given in addition to that gift that was offered back then is going to well be worth it. So just keep persisting, keep going with this life. So let me recap what those were. They're very simple: push, pace, and persist. That's what you have to do. I appreciate you joining me on today's program. If it's helped you out in any way whatsoever, go ahead and give me a big thumbs up. Certainly, I would love for you to start the discussion below this video in the comments. Start telling me about some of the tips and tricks you use in your mind to keep yourself moving forward. And answer the question, does life keep on keeping on for you? Yeah, I think it does. Tell us about your life. Not only will you be helping me, but many of those who are commenting below. Get the Transplant Helper community talking, and that will be a huge help. If you're not already subscribed to this channel, consider subscribing. You hit the bell notification off beside that as well. That way you'll be notified each and every time programs come out, because to be honest with you, even if you're just a regular subscriber, sometimes you won't know that new content has come out, which, by the way, I like to put out on Tuesdays and Thursdays with maybe a Friday's Fighter thrown in, that sort of thing. And that would be absolutely great and help to motivate me. With that said, I've got some videos that oftentimes pop up here, right up here on the screen, right beside me. Toward the end of these videos, sometimes my content, sometimes the content of others. You're already on YouTube, so why not keep watching? That will benefit you, and you'll learn more and more about transplant and the process that goes with it every single day. Again, my name is Jim Merle, the Transplant Helper. I appreciate you watching today, and until next time, please stay stronger, friends.